Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, DwyerVIP.com, on Roku, Dwyer Boxing, and Sports News. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Could you imagine tuning in to watch, let's say, LeBron James in a real big event? Let's say it's LeBron James right before the NBA Finals. Let's say he has a reporter, Stephen A. Smith, a guy I root for. He's from Queens, like I am, Hollis, Queens, Cambria Heights, right? Q3A was my bus. E and F train were my trains. If you're from Hollis, you know what I'm talking about. Let's say LeBron is being interviewed by Stephen A. Smith. Now, we know LeBron's a great player. We know LeBron has made millions of dollars. We know LeBron is, the kind of guy who, if he wants, can make the max in the NBA, right? Would you be disappointed if Stephen A. Smith is interviewing LeBron James before the NBA Finals and you're tuning in to, let's say, get an edge on the casino or figure out what's going to happen in the finals, and LeBron then feels a need to take you, the viewer, and Stephen A. Smith into his garage to then start telling you about how expensive his car collection is? Wouldn't that be disappointing? What would you think about LeBron at that point? That, wow, as successful as he is, this guy's got some self-esteem issues, right? In other words, whatever the outward appearance and stuff like that, this guy really seems to be determined to convince me that he's financially successful, right? Every conversation with LeBron James shouldn't become MTV Cribs, right? There's a place for everything, right? I can't imagine an athlete like, let's say, Derek Jeter, who made millions of dollars in baseball, who is notorious for having dated several gorgeous women, right? I believe there was one year where someone pointed out that Derek Jeter had dated something like double digits of the maximum top 100 women or something like that. This guy's a player on and off the field, right? Could you imagine Stephen A. Smith going to interview Derek Jeter before, let's say, a World Series? Some big event. Let's say one of the biggest events of Jeter's career. And can you imagine Derek Jeter then feeling a need to make sure that Stephen A. Smith and you, the viewer, saw the cars in his garage, right? Now, let me say this. I was watching an ESPN show, and of course, Stephen A. Smith is interviewing Floyd Mayweather. Now, let's be clear here. I want to be clear. I view Mayweather against Pacquiao really as a great opportunity for Floyd Mayweather. I think Mayweather is going to win the fight. I think the question for me personally is whether he stops Manny Pacquiao. Right? Manny Pacquiao's front foot heavy. If you get Pacquiao on his back foot, is he effective? Mayweather, to me, has the skills to get Pacquiao on his back foot. If you don't realize that, you need to go back and look at the films of Mayweather against Diego Corrales. You need to go back and just look at the first round of Mayweather against Saul Alvarez. In fact, you need to look at Mayweather against Shane Mosley before Mayweather gets buzzed in that fight. Right? Floyd can operate on his front foot. Right? I think Floyd beats Manny Pacquiao. I'm not here saying Floyd's overrated. Quite the opposite. In many ways, Mayweather's underrated. But let me say this. I'm watching an ESPN show, and they have Stephen A. Smith interviewing Floyd. Part of the problem is with the man from Queens, Stephen A. Smith, right? He's asking questions like, how many square feet is your house? Right? Okay, well, I'll concede part of the problem are the questions. But man, did I feel uncomfortable. Understand the world I live in, right, has a lot of people, working class, middle class people, worried about their economic security. Right? The world I live in has people borrowing against their 401ks if they have 401ks. The world I live in has people who've never heard of 401ks. Right? We're not in a boom economy, folks. This is not the 1960s. Right? This is a weird time where you look at student loan debt, you look at automobile debt, and you understand, this is not the time to be talking about your $1.5 million automobile. Right? A lot of sports fans are tuning in to hear about an upcoming fight, not your spending habits. Also, people in the spotlight need to know who they are. They really do. Right? They need to know what the public already knows about them. They need to be secure with themselves. So if Warren Buffett is about to have some big deal go down, let's say there's some big event involving Warren Buffett, and he's being interviewed by Stephen A. Smith, you know what? The public already knows Warren Buffett is wealthy. They already know this guy can afford a lot of great toys, might have a lot of great toys. Right? I believe it is a bit boring. Would be really boring if Warren Buffett then decided to take out a wad of bills and start counting it in front of the interviewer. What's that supposed to prove? Right? It'd be completely ridiculous if Warren Buffett then says, hey, before we talk about, this loan I'm about to make to Goldman Sachs, come into my garage. Let me just show you how wealthy I really am. Let me just show you this $1.5 million car. Right? Or this $3 million car. Right? It'd be ridiculous. Could you imagine that kind of interview with Tom Brady? I can't. Michael Jordan? I can't. I'm guessing if there's an interview with, let's say, Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson back in the day, before an NBA final, you'd have a hard time getting these guys to talk about anything other than the next opponent. Right? If I go over Larry Bird's house and I'm interviewing him before some big series, Celtics, Lakers, NBA Finals, and if Larry then said, hey, hold on, reached in his pocket, took out a wad of bills to wave for the camera, I think the guy was frivolous. I'd want to say, look, Larry, I know you're a successful basketball player. That's why I'm here interviewing you. Right? I assume you're well paid. I know you're financially successful. Just given the crowds and the money involved in your games. Right? You don't have to constantly remind me that, you're financially successful. As I said before, not every interview is an episode of MTV Cribs. Right? By the way, for the record, I believe there's an episode of MTV Cribs involving Manny Pacquiao, which is a bit hysterical. But let me get back to the point I'm making. Floyd Mayweather is not a KO puncher at this stage of his career. So he needs us. He needs me and you, the public, to be effective in the ring. Because understand, what we think factors into how judges score the fight. Right? Certain fighters didn't really need me and you. Right? Vladimir Klitschko fights, a lot of them end early. Right? So Klitschko's not worried about the judges. Also, some of the fights are clear cut. Right? The other guy's reeling around the ring. right? Vladimir Klitschko's not too concerned, about whether you think he's a great guy. But Floyd Mayweather has to be. Because Mayweather's fights are really the kind of fights where he's technically brilliant. And he's hoping you, the crowd, notices. He's hoping the judges notice. Right? Reputations of being technically brilliant help you win fights. Because then we're all watching the fight and we're oohing and eyeing the technical brilliance, the counters and all that stuff. Right? After a fight, when Floyd is awarded the decision, we feel he's earned the decision. Because, of course, we knew what to look for going into the fight. So when you see a fighter, and by the way, Pacquiao fights have been going the distance. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the last Pacquiao knockout fight was the Ricky Hatton fight. Right? That's before Floyd's KO of Victor Ortiz. Well, anyway, when fights are going to the judges, what the crowd thinks matters more, doesn't it? Right? Now, let me say this, and I know Bob Costas has said he feels that Sugar Ray Leonard would find a way to beat Floyd Mayweather. I'll just say this. I do believe Floyd Mayweather is more technically advanced than Muhammad Ali. I do. Right? Understand, Ali and Ray Leonard both had the same trainer, Angelo Dundee. You need to research him. He's one of the more major figures in boxing for the last half century. Right? So, of course, you'll notice both Ray Leonard and Ali had great jabs. Both Ray Leonard and Ali, if they hurt you, would let their hands go. They're not pot shotters. Right? Ray Leonard is really a combination puncher. Right? Very different. Took chances. Right? Let's talk about the other Sugar Ray. In fact, let's compare Floyd to the two Sugar Rays. Floyd in an interview said he believes he's better than Sugar Ray Robinson and Ali. Right? I think it's a given in his mind that he's better than Sugar Ray Leonard. Now, the comparisons are a little bit unfair because the Sugar Rays are actually bigger men than Floyd Mayweather. Right? Sugar Ray Robinson actually fought the light heavyweight champion at light heavyweight. I believe Ray Leonard fought the light heavyweight champion, right, at a catch weight and took the title. Right? Floyd Mayweather is not going to hop in the ring with Sergey Kovalev or Adonis Stevenson anytime soon. Right? The other guys were bigger than Floyd. Let me say this, and it needs to be said, because I believe we all have holes in our game. Right? The other guys are more emotionally connected to the people around them. Right? Not just the inner circle, but the outer circle. Right? In other words, whatever's going on in their lives. And now we know Ray Robinson had domestic violence problems. Right? Now we know Ray Leonard was, let's say, running around town. Whatever was happening in the rest of their lives, just understand that these guys were more loved than Floyd Mayweather. These guys just were more emotionally in tune than Mayweather. I'll say this. I think Mayweather is a very high IQ guy. I view Mayweather like I view Bill Belichick. Right? These are guys who outthink opponents. I believe Mayweather's best weapon is his thought process. Mayweather's a really sharp guy. Right? He understands boxing on a level really no one else does. But, He really is like Bill Belichick, right? Very high IQ, not the highest EQ I've seen. In other words, Belichick knows what he's doing on the football field, doesn't quite look like he knows what he's doing in the world of public relations, right? Doesn't quite seem to know how to interact with the press. Nor does Floyd Mayweather. Understand, the guys we're talking about here, Ray Robinson, Ray Leonard, right, have higher EQs than Floyd Mayweather. Let's just be blunt. These guys know how to play the crowd better. Understand, Ray Robinson, had an infamous pink Cadillac. He owned a bar in Harlem, right? He was a guy who was out running the streets, right? He was supposed to be a womanizer, even though he was married, right? The key, though, is you got the feeling that this guy was, the kind of guy who would be in his bar and who would hang with more than his inner circle, right? He knew what was happening with people. He understood what was going on in their lives, right? For all the image and stuff, the robe, the conked hair, and everything like that, you got the feeling that Ray Robinson was a man of the people, right? Ray Leonard, same thing. Now, I believe that, Floyd's a different kind of superstar. These guys belong in the Michael Jordan school of thought, we'll call it, where the guy is immensely talented. He's a superstar. But there's a part of him that needs to be out with the people, right? Needs to be, hanging out late at night, needs to burn the candle at both ends, right? In Jordan's case, he's gambling on the golf course, he's in casinos. Charles Barkley, same way, right? Superstar athlete, but you get the feeling that he also is a man about town, right? He's connected to the people. I was reading a Jim Brown book, and Jim Brown was good friends with Ali, right? Understand, Jim Brown, very good friends with Bob Arum, right? I believe Jim Brown is part of the broadcasting crew for the Rumble in the Jungle. And in this book, Jim Brown actually talks about how he's visiting an Ali training camp, and he walks into a room, and Ali's in the room with several women, right? And so Jim Brown was thinking, gee, I thought this brother was a devout Muslim, right? Comes to find out that Ali, publicly was a devout Muslim, privately, was a bit adventurous, right? That's who he was. Gordon Parks, the photographer who made Shaft, right? One of the great movies in American cinema, was actually roaming around Europe with Sugar Ray Robinson. This is the infamous Randy Turpin trip, where Robinson loses to Turpin. And you know the rest. Gordon Parks was astonished because Ray Robinson was spending a lot of time with the people and not a lot of time in the gym, right? That's who he was, right? That's not who Floyd is. And Floyd's relying on us for the scoring in his fights, right? It's a bit dangerous. So let's talk about Floyd against Sugar Ray Robinson. And I know Floyd's getting a lot of heat because he says, hey, he feels he beat Robinson, right? He beats Robinson. I'll just say this. You heard me mention Randy Turpin, right? Turpin, front foot fighter, right? Front foot fighter. The claim was if you could get him on his back foot, you could finish him off. Isn't Turpin part of a bigger trend with Ray Robinson? Let's just talk styles now, right? The first fight, Turpin beats Robinson. History can try to make that fight small. It's not small. There are more than 15,000 people there. That's a big fight, right? The rematch is close. It's close, folks. That film's here on YouTube. Until Ray Robinson lowers the boom, right? Knockouts cause amnesia. Don't let it have you overlook the hard time Ray Robinson's having before that knockout. So let's look deeper into Ray Robinson's career, and you're going to find that Robinson had a problem with, we'll say, James Kirkland type fighters, right? Jake LaMotta, Gene Fullmer, right? Now here again, people remember the fight where Robinson knocks out Fullmer with an anchor punch. It's a great moment in the sport. But understand, Fullmer beat Robinson, right? Look up the full history. Robinson wins that one, not other matches against Gene Fullmer. Carmine Basilio. Now, I'll agree, right? I'm throwing out some Hall of Famers here. Fullmer, Basilio, these are great fighters. But the point is, they could rough you up on their front foot, right? They could come in, they could push you, they could pin you up against the ropes, right? I understand there's a weight gap in his first loss against Jake LaMotta, right? But the point is, LaMotta's the same kind of fighter as Randy Turpin. How many fighters does it take to form a pattern, right? There's no question Ray Robinson's the harder puncher than Floyd Mayweather. There's no question Ray Robinson's more offensively gifted than Floyd Mayweather. In my opinion, there's no question Mayweather is the better defensive fighter. In my opinion, Floyd Mayweather would handle all three of these guys, right? Gene Fullmer is a lot like Marcus Maidana. Right? In terms of inside game, I would argue that Floyd Mayweather has the better inside game than Ray Robinson. Here's the problem, right? For those handicapping fights, if you're not smothering prime Ray Robinson, he's destroying you, isn't he? Right? You have to be a Randy Turpin pressure fighter to give him problems, don't you? Because if you don't, Ray Robinson is the prototypical boxer puncher, right? Forget the slickness, forget the smoothness. Guy had a hellacious punch. Now, in a fight between Ray Robinson and Floyd Mayweather, doesn't Mayweather have a couple of things against him, right? Mayweather's better on the inside. But is he the kind of guy to pin you on the ropes like a Gene Fullmer would? Like a Randy Turpin would? Is he that kind of fighter? Also, isn't there a charisma gap? In their primes, who would you rather have a beer with? Ray Robinson or Floyd Mayweather? Right? Do you feel that if you visited Ray Robinson 2 weeks before, let's say, a big fight in his career, the Rocky Graziano fight, right? If you visited him at that time, or let's say the rematch with Jake LaMotta, do you feel that Ray Robinson would spend any time telling you how much money he spent on his cars? Right? Do you think Ray Robinson is aware enough to look around him and figure out the economic times, and then to make a decision that now's not the time to be ostentatious? Now's not the time to take out a roll of bills and wave it in front of the interviewer, right? Hey, we already know Ray Robinson is successful. He doesn't have to do that, right? Simply put, That stunt seems beneath him, doesn't it? Let's talk Ray Leonard. You know, Ray had his problems. Now again, knockouts cause amnesia, right? He knocks down Wilfred Benitez, a great fighter, Hall of Famer. Knocks him down in the third round. First time Benitez has gone down in his career. Then he's able to drop him dramatically in the 15th round of that fight. Right? I understand the judges had him winning going into that last round. Okay, fair enough. Folks, watch the tape on the rest of the fight. Isn't Ray getting outboxed for stretches of that fight in the middle of the ring? We get to the first Duran fight that happens after that one, right? That first Duran fight, isn't Duran playing the role of Jake LaMotta? Right? Aren't there times in that fight where Duran has Ray Leonard pinned on the ropes with nowhere to go? And then Duran starts teaching Ray Leonard what fighting inside is all about. Aren't there moments in that fight that look like the Andre Ward, Alan Green fight? Right? And so my point to you is, hey, Ray Leonard had some issues with real high technicians. And I think Wilfred Benitez is someone Floyd Mayweather fans want to look at. Because a lot of what Benitez does, Floyd Mayweather does. Right? If you want to see how Sugar Ray Leonard would deal with prime Floyd Mayweather, that Benitez film's a good film to look at. But just understand, no one is totally unbeatable. Right? Even Marciano had his La Starza first fight. Right? No one's really completely unbeatable. And didn't Ray Leonard, and I'm talking about prime Ray Leonard, not the Ray Leonard against Marvin Hagler, but didn't prime Ray Leonard have his problems with very high-level technicians and with a highly technical Roberto Duran who was able to back him up? Keep in mind, too, you know, Duran's a great lightweight. When people look at that Ray Leonard film, they need to understand that Duran's actually fighting Ray Leonard in Ray's weight class. Right? So, in terms of boxing, I do believe Floyd Mayweather holds his own in the ring against Ray Robinson and Ray Leonard. Right? I do. I don't see how Wilfred Benitez could hold his own and then reach the conclusion that Ray Leonard would necessarily run roughshod over Floyd Mayweather. Right? The problem I think Mayweather faces is the charisma gap. Right? I mean, understand, Ray Leonard at his height made a truck commercial with Larry Holmes. Right? Ray was trying to sell us on the idea that, you know, he drove trucks. It's kind of like Blake Griffin in this Kia commercial type thing. Right? Ray saw himself as the everyman, or at least he wanted to identify with the everyman. Right? You know, that's not Floyd Mayweather. You understand that. So the flip side is that Ray Leonard, how do I put it? The everyman's going to root for Ray Leonard. The everyman's going to root for Sugar Ray Robinson. Right? He's going to respect Mayweather. But he's going to be rooting for the other guys. Let me just say this. Right? The Ray Robinson, out late night, running the streets, a million interests, right? Spectacular at boxing, but also involved in business and all this other stuff, right? The Ray Leonard, right? You know, hanging out with an entourage. Members of his entourage have now talked about how life was up late, running around, kind of like a Babe Ruth existence, right? That's another guy who's in this personality type, right? Babe Ruth, Michael Jordan, right? Guys who are up late, great at their craft, the most talented, but at the same time, the guy has to have other interests and stuff like that, right? Those guys have more charisma and more awareness than Floyd Mayweather does in terms of what's happening with not just, let's say, Leonard and the people he hangs with, but the people outside, right? Manny Pacquiao falls into that category, right? I believe Manny Pacquiao is going to enter the ring in Floyd City more loved than Floyd Mayweather, right? The truth is that Mayweather is an all-time great, right? I just don't think he fully understands why some of us would see him in his garage talking about a $3 million car 2 weeks before a big fight and find that tasteless, right? I'm not sure if Mayweather understands that it would be beneath Derek Jeter or beneath LeBron James to take out a wad of cash and wave it for the camera, right? Stephen A. Smith, on the little segment I talked about how Mayweather apparently gambled and won $90,000. Good for him. Hey, I wish I had that kind of money to gamble, right? Hey, and Lord knows I have nothing against gambling, right? But, of course, Floyd then goes with the ESPN crew to pick up the money. Come on now. Would you expect Warren Buffett to do that? Would you expect Mark Cuban to do that? Right? Just food for thought. So, yeah, do I feel that Floyd hangs with Ray Robinson? Yeah, I do. Do I feel he hangs with Sugar Ray Leonard? Yeah, I do. In the ring, right? As they enter the ring, I know for both of those fights, the crowd's going to be rooting for the Sugar Rays. I know if the fight is close, if it's too close to call, and if I have one of those mobile devices where I can make a bet, I'd be punching in a bet for one of the Sugar Rays. Because whatever happened in the fight, I know that the public's rooting for the guy fighting Floyd. Right? So that's the big concern on this Pacquiao fight. If it's close, do the judges then give Pacquiao the benefit of the doubt? Right? Does Floyd Mayweather get the benefit of the doubt? Right? I have little doubt in my own mind that Floyd's going to win the fight on the merits. The question is whether he's going to win it on the scorecards. Right? Isn't that the real question? Right? Let me also say, too, I do believe that Mayweather is going to open up a gap in this fight where he might have a chance to end all doubt. If Pacquiao starts fast, and if Pacquiao wins 3 or 4 rounds early, Floyd may have to. Well, anyway, those are my rambling thoughts. Let me hear yours. Trust me, you can ramble because I'm not in a position to say you can't. So I hope you leave your thoughts, whatever they are, in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.